Wizards of the Coast have released a new OGL, publicly this time, but is it enough? The document has some really cool ideas, like a new Creative Commons for the core mechanics, and Wizards saying that it is irrevocable. But that is a bit of a sneaky claim, and we'll get to that. Also, there is no license back here to Wizards of the Coast, so they can no longer steal creators' stuff. Although again, it's a little more complicated, but we'll get to that. I'm gonna go through this stuff under the guidance of lawyers who've gone through the whole thing and given a thorough breakdown. Okay, let's look at what the license actually does. Firstly, unlike the last horrible updated license that Wizards tried to force through without telling anyone, this one actually is a draft. It is public and subject to change. Nobody is signing anything yet. That is so great, but the first big hurdle is that this new OGL will revoke the old OGL if it passes. Tons of people are instantly not going to be able to accept that. Understandably. The old OGL might not even legally be able to be revoked, and it's very clear from the people who wrote it at the time that they intended for it to be irrevocable, and many big creators have said to Wizards, we're willing to go to court on that. But focusing on this new license, there's something really interesting right at the start. Wizards are putting up the core D&D mechanics as a Creative Commons license. That means that anyone can use them and you don't need any license at all. Wizards are saying how they're gifting this to the community, even though they never really owned this stuff anyway. You can't copyright game mechanics, but that doesn't mean it's not really useful for creators. This Creative Commons has the rules about spells, feats, backgrounds, monsters, saving throws, and all that stuff. However, it doesn't include any races, classes, magic items, or D&D lore. So you could make a totally new spell, but you can't make up a new subclass for a paladin, or a new sub-race for the Kenku. If you want to do that, you have to sign the license. So what are the important bits of this OGL? Well, firstly, it's irrevocable. It says it right there. That's a huge win. Except it's not really irrevocable. Anything creators make under this license will always be protected by this license, but the license itself can be withdrawn. Also, it says that if any part of this license is held to be unenforceable or invalid, Wizards can declare the entire license void. So if a problem emerges, they can just throw the whole thing away. It is great that content made under this license is protected forever, but because the license can be made void or replaced at any time, the community can never really have any security using this license. You can't really make homebrew Kickstarters or patrons your day job if the license you're depending on could not exist tomorrow. Next, there's a big update to the ownership part of the license. You own what you make, and unlike other versions we've seen, Wizards of the Coast aren't demanding any usage rights to that material. That's an improvement, because with the OGL they originally tried to force through, they could actually steal your stuff. But there's a catch. If Wizards end up producing something similar to your work and you can prove they stole it, you still can't stop them from distributing it. You can sue them for money if you can prove they stole your idea, but you can't sue them for injunctive relief. That means even if Wizards did steal your idea, and you proved it, and you sued them, and you won, they can still just keep selling it. Then there's a provision that all creators have to include a copy of this license in their works, just like with the current OGL. There's also an optional badge, but I won't be using the optional badge. Then we get to the big sticking point. Section 6F, no hateful conduct or content. This section says you can't include anything in your works that is harmful, discriminatory, illegal, obscene, or harassing. It also says that you, as a person, can't engage in any content that is harmful, illegal, obscene, discriminatory, or harassing. Okay, here's the problem. Wizards have the sole right to decide what content is hateful, and you waive any right to contest them via legal action if they make a decision. Unfortunately, this cannot stay in the agreement as it is. Firstly, it's vague. What is illegal in one country might be legal in another. Being in a same-sex relationship is sadly illegal in many countries. Certain drugs, like marijuana, are illegal in the UK, but they are legal in other countries. So if I wanted to create an NPC in a Kickstarter who was a bisexual, ass-kicking, pot-smoking dwarf, that could get my license revoked. Now, Wizards of the Coast might not find that offensive right now, but leadership can change. Can my NPCs say the word fuck? Is that obscene? What if I had an OnlyFans account? Is that obscene personal behavior? I don't think so, but that might be enough for Wizards to terminate my license. But even worse, because creators can't contest anything that WotC decide, if Wizards decide to take down a creator because they don't like them or the things that they're saying, that creator can't fight back. Can you think of any creators who might have annoyed Wizards recently? It is going to be almost impossible for creators to stand up against Wizards publicly if they know that Wizards can end their license and cut their financial lifeline. Also, it forces everyone to adhere to WotC's own moral compass, something which could change over time. And this is the problem. This hateful conduct part of the agreement, as it stands, relies on us to trust Wizards, not to abuse it. And given how they've handled this situation so far, I cannot trust Wizards. As one person put it, attempted murder is still a crime, and just because Wizards got caught trying to force through the original OGL to screw over the community doesn't mean we can just trust them now that they're walking it back. That original OGL was a mix of coercion and NDAs that would have gutted this community and taken a load of their money. It just isn't something that after Wizards have tried it, I can just forget about. The people who made that OGL, they still work at Wizards. The executives are still there. Their plans haven't changed. I no longer trust Wizards, so for me to even consider signing anything, there has to be no room in this contract for Wizards to abuse it. Then we get to the huge changes in the VTT section of this OGL. They don't prevent other VTTs from existing, but they do prevent them from doing anything that will compete with what Wizards VTT aims to offer. Wizards' own virtual tabletop is coming in the Unreal Engine. It looks a lot like a video game. It's gonna have spell animations, monster animations, that type of thing. So anything like that coming from other VTTs, that is instantly banned under this license. To me, this looks like Wizards are trying to cut off any competition to their upcoming virtual tabletop. It is a huge part of their plan to monetize the under-monetized D&D brand, and I think we can all imagine what type of monetization they're talking about in a digital format like that. Wizards say they're coming after anything that replaces your imagination, and they give the example of a spell visual effect. But that's kind of vague. What about walking animations? What about sound effects? What about costume changes? What about music? I personally think this is too limiting. If this license goes through, it will lock down all the other VTTs, while Wizards' own one gets to grow and expand with new technologies. Competition is always better for the consumer, and I would like to see Wizards show some confidence in their new upcoming system. If this VTT is really going to be amazing and for the good of the community, then Wizards shouldn't need to strangle out the competition before launching it. If it's good, you'll make a ton of money without needing to monopolize everything. Again, just personally, but this makes me feel like they're not sure anyone will like their new VTT, so they want to make sure they're the only one in the space. But also, we gotta make an important point. All of this stuff is so much better than it was. I'm not trying to dunk on Wizards for no reason. All of this stuff is a huge step in the right direction, but I feel it is not quite enough. This license can be replaced at any time. It gives Wizards a free hand to suppress any content they don't like, and you can't fight back if they use that power unfairly. Also, although Wizards are implying that there will be no royalty payments and there's nothing in here about royalties, that doesn't mean the future is guaranteed royalty-free. There are two things Wizards could do to make this really good. Firstly, and most importantly, it needs to be fully irrevocable. It needs to be guaranteed royalty-free, and creators need to have the tools and power to fight back if Wizards shut them down without proper cause. Honestly, if Wizards are shutting down someone for their content, they should be confident enough when they do that they can handle a lawsuit. If they're not certain that they're in the legal right, they shouldn't be shutting anyone down at all. Secondly, the restrictions on VTTs are vague and overly restrictive. This feels more like an attack on your competition than a genuine attempt to protect the community. Give people a choice of VTT, and if yours is as great as you promise, then people will use it, and you'll make a ton of money. Wizards are putting out a survey for all of this, and according to the designers themselves, they 100% do read written feedback provided in these surveys. I was told by two Wizards of the Coast employees otherwise, but when I reached out for clarification, what it really came down to was that these employees felt that most of the written feedback was ignored. I'm just showing that full discussion I had with them on screen now. To get to the bottom of the feedback thing, feel free to pause and read it. I failed to communicate their message accurately, and worse still, in doing so, I put a negative lens on the design team. That is a team of people who everyone I have spoken to have said is lovely and passionate and really care about the future of the game. So to Jeremy Crawford and anyone across the design team currently or formerly at WotC, I'm sorry. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the proposed OGL. Remember to let your voice be heard. As we've seen from Linda Kodega on Gizmodo, the only feedback wizards really seem to understand is voting with your wallet. But I still think sharing your thoughts on Reddit, Twitter, Facebook, etc. is really important, and I'm sure filling out this survey is also really important. Just don't let filling out the survey stop you from making your voice heard elsewhere as well. Honestly, I'm just so looking forward to going back to regular content again when this is all finished. To get to that point, I'm just going to share everything that I've been shown and told by Wizards of the Coast employees about the future of D&D and the internal workings of WotC this weekend. After that, I'll keep you updated on the OGL, but we'll hopefully just get back to being a regular, light-hearted meme channel. I like laughing about D&D much more than I like fighting for it. Hopefully the fight is nearly over. Anyway, see ya.